compliance require, prior to a change in use or establishment of new conditional accessory temporary use, or applicant must receive zoning compliance approval. So prior to a change in use, you need zoning compliance approval. This is per the code. There was a change in use. The building was built for distribution. It's now changed to manufacturing. That change in use requires zoning compliance approval. Okay? Zoning compliance, there's a whole section in the code for zoning compliance. Again, it says right here, an applicant shall obtain zoning compliance approval prior to, number 2, changing an existing use. So they are required to get zoning compliance approval. They did not do that. Let's see here. Number 9. Who do you go to? You get your application from Planning and Development Service Department. You file it with the zoning administrator. Okay? The decision of zoning compliance is approval authority. A zoning compliance application is reviewed and approved with conditions, or disapproved by the zoning administrator. Okay, now y'all have all heard about that poor little Emily Stevens who sent out that letter on December 27, 2022. The county says, oh, that was zoning verification. And that's like a contract, and that's what gives them vested rights. Well, the code says a zoning technician doesn't have the authority to give zoning approval. Zoning compliance approval is given by the zoning administrator. This process should have happened, and it didn't. I'll let you ponder on why. So, what else do I have here? Oh, this is what should have also happened after the BZA decision. This is what the code says. 155.1239, revocation of permit or approval. Basis of revocation. A permit or approval may be revoked by the zoning administrator at any time prior to the completion of use. So they're not complete, right? They're still planning, developing. They got to do their construction. So as long as before they're complete, a permit could be revoked if these 4 reasons, any one of these. It says if the administrator determines that one or more of the following conditions is present. Number 3, that the permit was issued in error. What did the BZA say on May the 9th? The interpretation was an error. Staff erred in their interpretation. All right, number 4, that any of the provisions of this chapter are being violated. Well, we just read the no fumes and the definition. There's things that are being obviously violated. So, again, all this is up here for you. I'll close with my Jeff Foxworthy interpretation. If you need a specialty contractor to do heavy industrial construction, you might be heavy industrial. Questions?
Yeah, we don't talk about the law, like what we've done legally. Obviously this is an informational session, so we want to give a kind of a background overview so you guys have reasons and questions to answer about what we discussed. Obviously the May 9th, we did a little victory lap because it's like, clear. The interpretation by the zoning administrator was erred and overturned. This is obviously not light industrial, so we did a little victory lap, but things kept moving, and then as Andy kind of tore apart the York County's June 25th statement that was unsigned, issued, nobody wanted to take credit for it, major issues in that. Legally, there was no basis for anything in that June 25th statement on multiple fronts. So since then, we have been obviously communicating with the public, and we need to continue to do that. We've gotten Cam involved. He's been involved this whole time through appeals and everything, but now we have filed, and we filed the suit. We've also interjected in Silfab's appeal to the BZA decision. So it's just crazy that York County says on June 25th that the BZA doesn't apply to CILFAB, and then 2 days later, CILFAB appeals the decision that doesn't apply to them. And in their appeal, the only thing they stated, they did not state any legal reasoning. They only said we want mediation. What that mediation would have been was mediation between CILFAB's attorney and the York County attorney, who obviously, as you guys can imagine, what side they're on. We found out a little loophole that we can interject ourselves, so that's what we've done. We've now interjected ourselves into that appeal. So they cannot do if they do a mediation, it will now be with Cam and CILFAB's attorney and York County attorney. And obviously, we are not going to say we're going to ignore the mediation.
We've also appealed DHEC, which is now the Department of Environmental Services. What happened at the May 9th time frame, we were trying to appeal DHEC, who has since changed their name, but we got denied a citizen appeal to DHEC, but we had to go through the administrative law court, and the 30 days was up, I think, on May 14th. So when we won on May 9th, we thought, no need to appeal DHEC, right? It's over, it's zoning, they ruled, we're good, we did a victory lap. So that 30 days expired. But CILFAB went back, as I said, and changed the 70 foot to 50 foot. It's completely different now. They've got pollutants that they didn't have before. It's all changed, the method's changed. We have a right to see all that information, not just a summary sheet. We want to know we want to investigate it like we did the first time, and study it and understand it. We didn't have that opportunity, so Cam filed an appeal to DES, Department of Environmental Services, which DHEC is now called. So that's been done. Like Scott said, we intervened into the appeal that DHEC did. We've also filed a lawsuit. We're also, during all that process, have tried to do a citizen's appeal to York County, same as we did the BZA. The BZA gave us a 5-0 decision. We feel confident that we would get something similar if we could just get in front of them again. Either the BZA or the Planning Commission we could appeal, depending on exactly what we're appealing. The county basically has ignored us, just completely. That's me. So we're considering if it's worth getting Cam involved in that to get back in front of a county board, which is made up of citizens who have shown they can do the right thing. So we may try that also, just to try to jump ahead of a court battle that may drag out for a while. So, questions?
Yeah, and I just want to stress one big thing. There's a lot of, obviously, CILFAB has a massive PR campaign out there with all these ads and stuff saying they're safe, they're light, and everything, they know what they're doing. I want to stress why I'm involved, why we're involved, and why y'all are all here, and why this is such a big deal. Number one, this is an experimental factory. They've never done this before. There are currently no, as I said before, no solar cell factories in America. As you can read on the sheet, the ones that do exist, the one in Atlanta and the ones in China, there's frequent accidents. A lot of people say about, people protest at the gas station and there's a nuclear site. Based on the research and based on the numbers, when you calculate the number of solar cell factories in the world, the number of nuclear facilities, the number of gas stations, you look at how many accidents occur per number. Solar cell factory accidents are it's not even in the same ballpark. There's literally about an accident a year at solar cell factories, so it's extremely high. The other big thing on this sheet here, at the back, the error's already made. CILFAB has multiple OSHA violations on their solar module factories, which do not require hazardous chemicals. They also have dozens of safety complaints by employees on Indeed. Also, there's been many mistakes that we have found. One of the clearest ones is our chemist, we have a chemist here in this room, professional chemist, he found that the molecular weights on their DHEC submissions of chlorine and calcium chloride were just completely wrong. You can Google it yourself. You can Google the molecular weight of those two chemicals, and you can see it's just wrong. What other mistakes have they made? What other errors have they made? Obviously, if they make errors when it comes to bringing in selenium or hydrogen fluoride, that's where catastrophe happens. And if there's already a lot of accidents in other facilities and we're finding errors, obviously the other issue here is DHAC, how DHAC has just gone through a major change. I personally don't trust DHAC. We found errors in the VOC numbers, Andy's found, and now they're internally going through all this change. Do we really want to trust the safety of our town with a compliance organization that is now going through internal changes, completely rewriting what they do? So, again, there's a lot of, this is a tangled web, but there are so many issues with this. So, I just wanted to stress that. And now, if y'all have questions, we want to open up to questions. There was a mic up here at the front, and we can just take it one at a time.